Hello and welcome back to Bad Moms in Business, the podcast. I am Bridgette Robertson.
I'm Amanda Sharp.
I'm Danielle Monahan.
Oh, so today, let's just air the dirty laundry right now.
Okay.
We've got
Okay,
a
let's
lot
just
of
get it out there.
technical issues, people issues. So if the quality of this podcast offends you a little bit, we're sorry, but we're persevering through it anyway. And we want you to stay into the message regardless, but we wanted to just throw that out there because that's not our normal quality. But with that being said, today we're discussing to pitch or not to pitch. That is the question. Most importantly, like, what do you do with your kids' projects, their artwork, their crafts, their art, all of that stuff that I love, but I know can be a burden on some of you guys. I'm not naming any names, but you know who I'm looking at right now, y'all.
I can give you a hint. It's probably not me.
I love it.
So, although it might be, who knows?
I guess before we go into that, let's just kind of like talk how everyone's doing so far for the day, and week and month and everything in general. So how's everybody before we dive into our shenanigans?
Well, I I have COVID, so
dun dun dun.
Yes. I have not made the public declaration yet, but I think it'll come today. I share so much of my life on social media that it feels weird to have not addressed this. But I think it's important for me to address it because I know I sound a little weird. Probably I feel like I sound weird. But that's my only symptom. Is that I have like a head cold basically. And had I not known that I was exposed to COVID, I would not think that I had it. And I would be out living my life and working and going to the grocery store and, taking medicine to calm my symptoms down, but otherwise living my life and spreading it throughout my community. So I am super thankful for the fact that I was told that I was exposed, or that I know that I was exposed. I was able to immediately quarantine. I mean, within the hour of finding out, I went home and went into our guest bedroom where I am right now. And I've been here since Tuesday. So I've been here for a week. And I will be here for another week. It's the isolation, I think, is the worst part. And I know that I am so lucky. I am so lucky. People have had it much, much worse. So please don't take this as me complaining. But it's very lonely up here, especially when my kids are downstairs. And Jace, I'm sorry, I didn't want to do this. But Jace wrote me a note about how much he misses me, and that it's been hard. So the whole point of this was, if you feel like you just have a cold, but you know that maybe you were around people who are also sick, or you have been doing things that seem a little reckless, like not wearing a mask when you're around people, go get tested just to be safe, because you do not want this and you don't want to put others in this position. So that's it. That's my PSA. Sorry for making you cry. How are you, Amanda?
But are you really sorry? No. And that was, I mean, we discussed this kind of as soon as we knew you needed to basically like quarantine and isolate. The first thing that came into my mind was, I would not survive being without my baby. I mean, so when you're saying those things and it's causing emotion, I mean, that's what hit me like the hardest, was if I had to quarantine and be, not able to be as interactive as I prefer to be with my child, that would hit me so hard. So you having this happen, definitely not that. I mean, I seldomly go out. I really do. Like, I try to stay at home as much as I can, but it made me go, I ain't going anywhere again, because I can't. I would not be able to do what you're doing right now, Bridgette. I mean, I would, but to isolate for basically like the 10 to 14 days like you're doing and only be a weekend, It takes a toll on a person.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a long week. We recorded the podcast last week, and I got the call while we were wrapping up. Luckily, I was alone in the office where I was recording, and I didn't expose anyone else other than potentially Chris that night, the night before, that is, Monday night. But he had a test today. He's negative, and the boys are fine. So isolation is working. And when I do have to go downstairs for any reason, obviously I have a mask on. And I only go down there for a minute at a time, and then I'm back up here. So
it's so hard. You going through that. I mean, Brandon and I have been, and my husband and I have been very careful this whole time. Or at least we've tried to be as careful as we possibly can be. But also, like, we really needed to rein things back in because we are living in a very small, this is, if anybody knows the situation, we're moving right now. Like, it's been a whole thing. We're living in my mom's in-laws quarters, in-laws suite that she has attached to her house. So I'm in one of the smaller bedrooms because the room that we're staying in, I'm trying to minimize the amount of echoing that's happening. But Brandon and I and Watson are staying in one big room. It has a kitchen and a bathroom and one big room for everything. There is no quarantining for us. We would have to quarantine together as a family. And to think that I could get sick and pass that on to my child would just freak me out so bad.
Yeah. It's terrifying. And I mean, my experience, I have been we're a year into this. I have been very careful as well. But
there's only so much you can do.
Absolutely.
And I let my guard down. Excuse me. And here we are. Not that I was out at a party or out, walking through the stores maskless. That's not the case. But so here I am. And it's, like I said, I am very lucky. My symptoms are very minimal. Today's been the worst day. My head's a little foggy today. And I'm just the symptoms are worse today than they've been this whole time, but they're still so mild. I can't complain, truly.
Well, you look great.
No, thanks. I brushed my teeth and I slapped some lipstick on. So here we are.
I love it. You're rocking it.
For sure. We could put this on the calendar for another day. We could do, many things, but we vowed to keep our adventure and our lives very authentic and real and raw. And this is it, friends. This is it. Yeah. We got terrible lighting today, terrible audio quality, terrible internet connections, but we're still doing it anyway because we've made a commitment to each other and to our listeners, and that's why we're going to show up every single day at 5 a.m.
Yeah. And before we dive in, one more thing. Excuse me. You guys were so sweet, and you dropped off the sweetest that little large care package to me. My jaw hit the floor when it was delivered up to my bedroom here, and I'm just so thankful for you guys. I have been nothing is not within my reach. I have been doing these puzzles with my new purple pens while I watch Gilmore Girls. So quarantine life is not all bad, I guess, because you guys brought lots of sunshine to me. So thank you. I'm going to come out of here 5 pounds heavier because lots of candy.
And we're sorry for that, but thought it would help.
Yeah. So thank you.
I gotta say, just a little story about that bag. It was a very large bag that was puzzled together with the contents. And I did U-scan at the store, and the people behind me were like, seriously? Because I was literally piecing it together. And I didn't use any bags. I'm I'm just putting this baby together right here, right now. So I'm leaving, and it was a heavy bag. I mean, it was filled to the brim, and I'm carrying it. And of course, I beep on the way. I was like, wah, 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 wah. And I'm like, oh man, all this effort at packing this, and I might have to unpack it. And she looks at my receipt. She's like, oh, it's the earrings. I was like, oh, good. And they're so awesome. They're so Bridgette earrings.
They're so cute.
You can't, like, the video quality is not giving it justice. They're a rainbow rhinestone. Oh, they're the best.
They're gorgeous. They spoke your name, so we had to get them. But that was funny. So I will publicly apologize right now to anyone who was behind me at Meijer during the U scanning incident of 2021. It was because Bridgette.
Yes.
Worth it.
Exactly. They'll understand.
Yeah. They will. So let's dive into this fun topic. Some people might find it not fun. I find it fun because it makes me think that, again, down the memory lane. I'm going to try not to cry about it. But Bridgette, so I always make you go first when it's a topic that's a little controversial. What do you do with all of that artwork and stuff that kids make, like Jace's letter that he just wrote for you? Like, what do you do? Do you keep some of it? Do you throw some of it away? Do you keep all of it? Do you throw all of it away? What's your strategy?
So, elementary school is tough. They bring home so much stuff. Aaron is in 4th grade this year, and so his has slowed down significantly, I have to say. He's not bringing home every single day, like, multiple works of art. So I'm thankful for that. Because it accumulates fast over the course of a school year. So we have totes in our basement, one for Aaron, one for Jace. And in those totes, we keep things that, we feel are worthy of being kept, for lack of a better phrase. But definitely not everything gets kept. And I used to be so brazen as to, like, look at it and say, this is great. I love it so much. Good work. And then throw it in the garbage can in front of them. But
this is not my internet glitching. This is me making robotic motions because.
Oh, I'm sure that went over well.
Yeah. They both, like, looked at me like I had, I don't know, killed their dog or something. And they would come and take stuff out of the trash and put it back on the counter. Like, oh, that must have been a mistake, Mom. Cause I noticed this was thrown away. So I had to wait until they went to bed to throw things away. But they do both have totes in the basement with lots of stuff that I've kept. But to keep all of it is just not something that I can do. I might keep, I happen to have it here, the letter that Jace wrote me.
You have to.
Like a Pokemon character?
Yeah, that's Pikachu.
It's Pikachu. Seriously, you have to keep that forever and ever and ever. And if you don't, I will keep it.
Oh my gosh. That is the best representation of 2020, 2021 that you could have. That letter. That is a keeper.
This will be kept. It says get well soon on the front. And then he put, like, look, with arrows, flip, no, up. When you flip it, there's a note about how he hopes that I don't die from COVID. So I had to go and tell him the night that he slipped that under the door, I had to go and, like, stand in his doorway with my mask on and say, I'm not gonna die. Like, it's okay. But anyway, so yeah, some things I keep. The majority of it goes, and I'm just glad that I know that I'll miss this kind of stuff coming home. But in 4th grade, when stuff stopped coming home like that, I was like, oh, we've entered a new world. So I'm not mad about it.
Interesting. I just want to go back to his letter. Oftentimes I'm going, oh, poor Bridgette. But oftentimes we forget that the kids are going through that isolation away from you and how they're feeling about it. And even, your husband, Chris. Him too. Yeah, that's hard. So I guess let me ask you, how do you vet whether it's worth keeping or not? Is it like it tugs at your heartstrings, or is it quality? What are you gauging? Keepability. Is that a word? I use.
Yeah, I tend to keep. Aaron wrote this thing years ago. It's a shamrock. And they had to write what they felt lucky for. And Aaron said, I feel lucky because I get to go to church and learn about God. And I was like, oh, my heart. So that I kept. But they bring home so much stuff where it's just like
It's
a picture of a rainbow or a color by number. So a lot of the stuff I keep, they've written on, and they've written stuff that they're experiencing, or the way they're feeling in that moment in their lives, and that kind of stuff I keep. But a lot of just the coloring pages or stuff like that, I toss. I know.
And for me, you have the extreme opposite, who I literally kept everything. And that's where my attic that I've referenced several times in this podcast, it's full. And it's in paper bags that are taped shut. And I can't wait to go through. And I want to be very clear, though, because some people will say, well, that's passing on a burden to your child. I don't expect him to keep it or care about these items. I'm keeping them because they make me happy. I don't know that he's going to care to look back at what he did in first grade. I think he has zero interest in that. He does now. I can't imagine it's going to change when he's 30 or 40 or whatever the case may be. So it's not like I'm creating a burden for him. I'm keeping a special place in my heart for those items, though, because it makes me so happy.
Yeah.
It makes me so happy. So Danielle, for you, I know Watson's age is hard for, you're not in kindergarten yet where the loads are coming in. But he's really starting to use markers, crayons. He's one smart cookie. So how are you navigating what gets kept and what doesn't?
So I think I'm a good mixture between you guys, which I feel like I typically am.
Absolutely.
Which is kind of funny. I feel like I just fall right in the middle of you guys. Yeah. So a couple of things. Watson's not quite there yet, so I'm not sure what will happen when elementary rolls around. But I will say this. Moving twice in 4 months will definitely help you figure out what is worth keeping and what is worth not keeping. I kept the first thing, like the first time he ever grabbed a pen and he drew on something, I kept that. I dated it with his name and stuff like that. I kept that. We've done the paint with like his hand and stuff like that at different holidays, keeping all of those things. When he's just on a Tuesday, just randomly coloring on a piece of paper, probably not going to keep that. But I read a book, and shocker, right? And if nobody has read this, I highly recommend it. It's The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. I think I've talked about it before. If I haven't, now you're hearing about it. She talks about sentimental items. And that is my hardest thing because I form very strong attachments to things and stuff because it triggers memories for me and I don't want to let those go. And it was something I learned a lot about actually reading that book and then dealing with my dad's stuff after he passed away. So I gave myself that time to go through my grieving and kind of figuring out my own thoughts about it. It was a very stressful, very hectic situation after he died. But anyways, 4 years after did I freeze?
Just a little bit, but it's okay.
4 years.
So 4 years after he died, I finally felt ready enough to go through his stuff, which was all being stored in my basement. Anything that I felt a strong connection to, but necessarily didn't want to keep because I figured Watson wouldn't be interested in anything like this. I knew Brandon wasn't going to be interested in anything like this. I took a picture of it and I have a little folder on my phone of different dad things that all I have to do is pull that up and I can see it. And it's not taking up anything but digital space, which some people are weird about digital space as well. I'm not with my 11,000 pictures that I have sitting on my phone right now. But so that's hopefully the tactic that I plan on taking with Watson is keeping the really important stuff, anything that pulls at my heartstrings, but maybe isn't super necessary to keep. I plan on taking pictures of it. You can with Shutterfly and things like that, you can take pictures and make them into books and all kinds of stuff, which again is adding more things to your life. But I'm really trying to downsize my life. I have an entire storage unit full of stuff that I don't need. So it's going to be a process, but I'm hoping that I will be good. Flip side of that, my husband, Brandon, hates stuff, hates all things, hates all clutter, hates all, you name it. He just hates it all. So he has zero problem just pitching in. So I'm just going to take my picture and then I can go.
Brandon, if you listen to this podcast, I never knew that about you.
Oh, you didn't?
He is not a stuff guy.
I mean, I get that, but like sentimental stuff though is different than stuff.
He doesn't get very sentimental about stuff. It doesn't matter to him if, I mean, don't get me wrong, the important stuff, definitely. But like if he gets a gift from Christmas, like I'll keep everything because, well, my grandma bought me that, but you don't wear it. But my grandma bought it for me. I have to keep it. He's like, it goes. He has no problem with that.
I guess I'm better about that, but it's typically the stuff that involves my baby
Sure.
that I struggle with the most. So let me ask you, this has been in my thoughts since you moved. So you had that sweet box that Watson played house in, and Owen had a very similar box to that. So it was really hard for me now, some things physically can't be saved. I mean, I could not move a lawn and leaf bag, huge box that was the size of a pallet to and from Texas back to Michigan. I mean, Amanda has some reasoning behind her saving. So how hard was it to get rid of that? Because I know he had doodled on it. There was some memories within that. So, look at her face.
Yeah.
So I did not get rid of it. I broke it down. I have it folded. It's folded flat, but it is in a storage unit, but it is where we can go get it if we wanted to pull it back out of retirement. Because I don't know. That's going to have to be one of the things that I take a picture of when we do get ready to toss it. He's had so much fun. We did this sticker club a couple of months ago where somebody sends you like this little sheet and then you send it to 6 people. And then so you get stickers from 6 random people or maybe I think it was like 36 random people. Anyways, I don't know. But anyways, we did that. And so we were getting all of these stickers and Watson has fallen in love with stickers. So there's like stickers all over it. And we got like fun ones. Like he's really into trucks and like automobiles and things like that. So he'd be like, oh, airplane, helicopter, like, oh, it's a blue one. It's a big one. Like, so it's this whole thing that he's loved it so much. And I'm so sad that we didn't really have the space for it here, or it totally would be here right now.
Oh, that makes me feel so good. And I kept mine until I said mine. Look at that. I kept Owen's until it just didn't, like he outgrew it so much and it needed to, come away. Yeah. It got beaten down pretty good at that point. There was so much uses out of it. So that makes me feel so good. Oh,
kept it.
It got moved.
Yep. Had to.
That's so sweet. So what are some other things that you guys keep that other people might throw away besides kids stuff?
So Erin had a teacher from age 4, I think, through kindergarten at the Montessori school. And she would write notes every week, every couple weeks. And I have most of those. We have, one thing I do that I found on Pinterest like years ago, Dr. Seuss, Oh, the Places You'll Go, that book. I have a copy for each boy. And at the end of the year, I have their teacher write a note to them in it.
Oh, that's special.
Stop it. Obsessed with that idea. Do not let me forget that. We have that book. Do not let me forget.
Yeah, so I do have that. I don't know how that's gonna age though. Once they get into middle school, they have so many teachers. I don't know how that works. But
even if it's just elementary, that's such a beautiful idea. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it.
Those are the grades that if you're going to forget a teacher, sometimes those are the grades that you forget where you might remember, your high school teachers a little bit more or you want to forget them, but it stays in your head because you're going to remember things differently. So I think of all the grades, elementary is the most special to do that too. So that's exciting. I love that idea.
Hands down my favorite idea I've ever heard. I love it. I love it. I love it.
It's not an original idea. I got it from Pinterest, but
don't care.
I'm excited to put those out at their graduation party.
Yeah. Yes.
But let me tell you, my grandmother, my dad's mom, she was a saver. She was an Amanda on steroids.
Oh.
if her kids looked at something, she kept it. She had, when she passed away, there was so much stuff. I mean, paper upon paper upon paper. And we threw it all away. Like, it was just, I know it was sentimental for her and she kept it for herself. But then, Amanda, I know you said you're not leaving it as a burden for Owen. And I don't know that my dad found it to be a burden necessarily, but it was just like, he did not care. And then, same thing, even when he passed away, he was a coach. And so at the end of every year, his teams, they would, sign a basketball or sign a picture or sign this, that, or the other thing. And he kept it all. But when he died, it was like, what do you do with all this stuff? And we threw it all away because what else? I mean, I'm not taking 18 basketballs and a bunch of trophies to my house. So that's where, because I come from a family of keepers, and I have seen what that looks like at the end of their lives, it makes it easier for me, I think, to get rid of stuff.
And I think the nature of our business, we come into the path of somebody who's navigating through that very often, that they have to empty out a loved one's home. And so I think that has caused me to be way more conscious of not taking and putting that burden on, say, Owen for the future. Because again, anything I keep now, it's to bring me joy. But I'm like, by all means, pitch this junk when it comes time. Like if I croak tomorrow, like pitch what you want to pitch. Yeah. I'm gone.
Honestly, my grandma had a Bible. I don't know how I ended up with it, to be quite honest with you, but I have it. And my goal was she had so much stuff shoved in this Bible, as place markers and that kind of thing. And my goal was to keep it exactly as she had it, but it fell out of a box and everything went askew. So that was lame. But I have it all still. And I actually, we're cleaning out my office downstairs. Or Chris's. I have COVID.
And you might as well make great use of that excuse.
But in one of the bins or in one of the drawers was my grandma's stuff that was in the Bible. And I just went through it yesterday. And there was like a note from her son, not my dad, my uncle. Do you guys remember the computer paper that came on with the
strip?
With the holes on the side that you had to.
Yep. Yeah. It was satisfying.
Yes. It was written on that. The holes are still there. Like you could tear them up. It looked like he had maybe written it at his desk at work or something. And it was just around Christmas time. And he was just telling her like how fondly he remembers her during this time of the year and all of the stuff. And it was all folded up. And she had unmistakable penmanship. Everything in calligraphy. And so it said right on there, December 1999. And she kept it in her Bible. And so I have that note that was not meant for me, but I read it every time I come across it.
How beautiful.
Yeah.
That is. Because it showed how special it was. Especially I keep very important things in my Bible. So that shows like the level of like how important things are. Danielle.
So I have a Bible as well. Am I the only one that does this? Is this weird? Does anybody else keep obituaries in their Bible?
No, I don't think that's weird.
Oh,
that's weird.
Okay, good. I thought you were saying no, nobody else does that. I was like, good.
I think a lot of people do. I think a lot of. I mean, I don't because I don't have like. I don't keep that kind of stuff. I just don't. But I know a lot of people who do.
I have. So to make you feel better, I have my dad's obituary and my grandpa's obituary. Actually with that stuff that came out of my grandma's Bible. So yeah, I have all that stuff too.
Okay.
You're normal, Danielle.
Yeah.
Hey, Danielle, what else do you keep that other people might?
Yeah.
Too much, honestly. Like I said, I'm a very sentimental person. And Well, for starters, we're keeping all of our baby stuff because we don't know if we're going to have another kid.
Fair.
So when and if we decide that, then we will slowly start to get rid of that. That will be the hardest thing ever for me to get rid of.
Yep.
Hands down. But it's also taking up the most amount of space in our storage unit right now. I keep a lot of cards. I am not a card giver. I don't think I don't know. It's just something that spending $6 on something that somebody's going to throw away 2 seconds after reading it. It's a saying that you didn't come up with. They kind of infuriate me a little bit, but yet I keep them for everything. And I saw this cute thing on Pinterest. I haven't done it yet, but I still need to, is every card that Watson received during his first year, I'm going to like 3-hole punch and kind of put rings on it so he can like flip through them. Don't know if he'll ever want that, but I thought that was a really cute idea. So when I went through I think it was within like the last 3-4 years, I really started to purge the things that I've had. And that was one of the things that I started to do is like, okay, I have 17 birthday cards from my mom. I don't need to keep all 17 of them unless they had like cute sayings in them or something like that. So I really started even like, my grandma and my dad. And then another thing is pictures. So many pictures, totes upon totes upon totes, not in photo albums, just totes upon totes upon totes of just loose pictures all over the place. It's so overwhelming.
So I have the same thing. When my grandma passed away, she had garbage bags. I think there's 2. And I'm talking big, black, industrial garbage bags of just loose photos. And they're in my basement because, again, I inherited them. I think the plan was to throw them away. And I was like, you can't throw them away. So I have them. Most of them are black and white. I have no idea who any of the people in them are. There is no reason for me to be keeping these. But my grandma kept them, and the other part is like my dad is gone, so he can't help me identify. Yeah. My grandma's gone. His other, my uncle on that side, I'm not super close with, and I don't know if he would even know any of those people, even if I did, text him photos of them or whatever. I have no connection to that side of the family anymore, and so I feel like I'm holding on to them as the last shred. Sorry, guys. COVID. But it's gonna come a day I'm gonna have to throw them away.
I will say, were you talking? No, I was gonna say, I think especially the black and white ones, there's interest for people who use them for different things, and that might sit better that you give them to somebody to do something with than just have them end up in a dumpster. Because if the life of that picture can live on by putting it in the right person's hand, it would be really neat, because what do you care what's done with it at that point? That's true. It's better than a dumpster.
So, quick story about this. My mom has been doing this over the last couple of years, where she found this company, and I can always ask her if anybody is interested in this company, where you sent in, it's a lot of liability because you were literally snail mailing in 1,000 pictures at a time. So gone out of your site in the mail. But you send them to this company and they will digitally scan them onto a USB drive for you, onto a zip drive. And so now my mom's done this over the last couple of years, and now she's given me like 6 or 7 of these little things, and they're so miniature, and they're holding, 1,000. And she does the same thing with videos. They did the same thing with old DVDs, old VHS, like home movies and stuff. And now they're all on these little zip drives, and it's kind of awesome. But I haven't done that yet.
Well, and I look and I go, what happens when that is kind of obsolete? Like a CD. I don't have a spot to put my CD in my computer anymore. You know what I mean? You then would have to buy an adapter to be able to do that, just like VHS at one point. It's so funny how it just kind of continues to evolve. But I
think the zip drive is the most advanced technology that we have, at least as far as like mainstream that I know of. Sure. And like most computers, like right now, I don't know if you can see, like I have my little adapter plugged in so I can use my microphone and my, because mine doesn't even have any of those. I just have the USB-C port on my computer. So yeah, I mean, I don't know. It's not for everybody, but the downside of this is unless you have them in chronological order, they're not going to do that for you, obviously. So like we had these big totes that are all just mangled. So if you're looking for one specific picture, good luck, because it probably isn't going to happen. But also I wasn't going to find it sitting in that tote either.
For sure. Absolutely. And that's one thing I like about our digital option now, that we can take pictures and we can delete 9 out of 10 that are not good pictures, where you kind of took a gamble back in the day. You had your 36 if you were lucky, and you might come back and have 4 that are really keepers, but everyone kept the full 36. So that's where it's not, even though we have all like thousands of pictures on our phone, they're good ones.
Yes.
They're really good ones.
So I keep way too many. That digital clutter is my issue space, because I struggle with getting rid of it.
We take this everywhere. It's not like you're having to rent a storage unit for this.
It's true. I do have so this is the iPhone. Look at all. I do have the what is it? I think this is just the iPhone X or whatever, but I got the big one. All this space, I don't even remember if it's like 128 gigs or something like that, 270, 256, maybe something like that. Whatever the biggest one that I could get was. That's what I get.
Needs the big one.
Right. This is what I'm saying.
Also on your phone, I use, and there's 800,000 different options, but I use Google Photos because they will save all of your photos directly from your camera roll. And then you can clear up the space in your camera roll, so you're not losing memory on your phone, but they're, stored on the Google Cloud somewhere. And I have photos from when I was pregnant with Jace on my phone that I can pull up at any time, but they're not taking up space in my actual phone. So that's an option too. I have one last question.
Okay.
This has nothing to do with our kids, but it does have to do with stuff. What did you do with your wedding dress?
It's in storage in a box. I think I'm going to donate it.
Okay.
Mine is also in a box. It's in an express box. Like mailbox. It is like the size of my computer box, just shoved in there, and I mean folded nicely. But it's there and safe, and it's in my attic that we have to talk about. Bridgette?
Well, you're not going to believe this, but mine was shoved. That's not true. Let me start over. It was upstairs in Chris's grandma's house, and he brought it home for me because I requested it. And then put it in a chair in my office, and it sat there for a couple of months, just like poofed out and crazy looking. Like, of course. If I ever recorded the podcast in my old office downstairs, which I did multiple times, I was looking at my wedding dress.
Oh my gosh.
But the reason I requested it come home is because I'm going to have it made into a quilt that can lay at the end of my bed.
Oh.
Yes.
I like that, because I guess I didn't really look at saving mine too much because I'm so short that nobody would have been able to rewear mine, even if
that's a fair point.
So I kind of kept it, because what else do you do with it? I mean, it was an expensive dress. We should do a post of our wedding dresses and ask all of our listeners where is their wedding dress.
Yeah.
And then I thought, I guess it could get remade into something, because there was a lot of beading and stuff on it, right? But
they do those. Sorry to interrupt you, but they do those. It's morbid, but those burial gowns for babies out of wedding dresses, which is what originally I know. It's originally what I had planned to do with mine, to be quite honest. But then a friend of mine, Rachel, told me that hers is just at the end of her bed in this beautiful quilt, and I thought, I want to do that.
Can I see a picture of said quilt?
Yeah, I'll text her right now, and she'll send it to me, and I'll text it to you.
Do it.
Perfect. Because I mean, because I have such bad dogs and they're allowed on my bed, said quilt would get ruined.
This is my thought exactly. I was like, unless I dye this black.
Oh.
But it would,
Which, I mean,
it's actually safer in the box currently than anything. And I did give my tiara and veil to one of my nieces because I was like, what am I going to do with this? I mean, this is silly. It tarnishes, things get old. Things get old. I'm like, play with it. It doesn't matter.
I still have my veil because Grandma Sharp made it for me.
Oh,
Grandma Sharp. Love Grandma
so
Sharp. Speaking of beautiful penmanship, she also has beautiful penmanship.
Yes. She does. My veil is hanging up in my closet, still in like the JCPenney plastic that Grandma put it in, when she gave it.
Oh, that's sweet.
So I don't know what I'll ever do with it. But I just can't stand the thought of getting rid of it because, her hands touched that and sewed the beads on.
Oh, that's so different.
Yeah.
I also have a bit of a different situation in that our wedding was so different, very not traditional at all. And so I have two wedding dresses because the one we wore to the courthouse and the other one that we had the night after when we had our
informal.
We called it our it was still a ceremony and a reception. It just wasn't the legal portion. It was the day before. And that was a different dress because I didn't have my dress until the day of. And I can remember, the night before is when I got it. And I was being pinned, I was being altered at the store. And, all the girls are in the back, dressed me like, oh my gosh, when are you getting married? I was like, oh, tomorrow. And they're like, you're so calm. I was like, listen, you plan a wedding in 3 days. You don't have time to be stressed.
Which just cracks me up because the planner had no planning for a big day of her life.
None whatsoever.
It was good.
And, everybody's probably thinking that I was pregnant and stuff. I wasn't pregnant. It's fine. It was about my dog. So everybody calm down.
Marcus says that I tricked him into getting married by saying I was pregnant. And 5 years later, Owen came along Marcus, why do you have to lie? And he says it as a joke, but I'm like, that's not funny. That's not what happened.
There's somebody who's going to believe that.
I know. 5 years later, she popped out a kid. I mean, whatever. One last thing that I want to say that I keep, and this is, I just continue to keep it. But anytime my mom leaves me a voicemail, I keep it.
I do a similar thing. And I'm glad that I do that because I have the last voicemail my dad ever gave me, my grandpa ever gave me. I love it.
Look at all those.
I mean, I'm right there with you.
Mom, I'm sorry. I don't keep anything that you leave me. I'm so sorry.
Because sometimes I just need to hear my mom's voice.
I get that. I had the last text message my dad ever sent me.
Yep.
Which was asking me to bring him a Pepsi Slurpee. And I thought that I had it figured out that it was backed up. And then I got a new phone. I don't even know if it disappeared when I got a new phone. Whatever. It's gone. As was the last voicemail, which I thought I had saved.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
I still have the last one of me and my dad too. And it was just us telling that we loved each other.
What more do you need?
Yep. And that was a week and a half before he passed away. So glad that I have that.
Yeah.
This ended so
emotional. We apologize.
Well, and I think, when we're talking about throwing away things, keeping things, it brings out the sentimental nature of a human being, and it causes us to really contemplate what's important to us and not. So I'm not surprised it went down this path, but let's end it on a cheery note.
Okay. What's our B?
Oh gosh.
Pressure. I got nothing.
Be as sentimental as you want to be. There's no shame.
Okay. I dig it.
That's right. Be sentimental or not.
There you go.
I mean, you can't go wrong.
Nope.
I love it. Well, we will be sure to post any links that we talked about in the comments. As always, please give us a like, comment, subscribe, share,
review.
All of those things help us out. I know we don't often say that often enough, but that does really help us out. We appreciate everyone who's listening. And until next week, have a great week. See you later.
Bye, guys.
Bye.